We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Yeah, calling all warriors and troopers that's willing to step up and accept the challenge. Just got a question. Who's down to answer the call? We need to answer the call, right? You down to answer the call, right? I'm down to answer the call. We need some starters, yo. We need some thinkers, yo. As largest in charge, yo. We doing it major, yo. Who's down to answer the call? We down to answer the call. Putting our foot down on the neck of the devil, right? Our mentalities is to never get settled, right? So who's with us to take it to the next level? Take off on go mode like all gas, no brake pedal. Taking over city to city, going from state to state, invading the whole planet from the Pacific to Atlantic. What? We official, not artificial, pure and organic. Feeding you that manna, no manifest of that milk dress. Let's take SC out of Sickle, turn the cell into well. Drop KLE out of Ickle, add it with pasta for yum. Now what that spells? Say it. I'm well. How you feeling? We good. I'm well. Who's down to answer the call? We need to answer the call, right? You down to answer the call, right? I'm down to answer the call. We need some starters, yo. We need some thinkers, yo. As largest in charge, yo. We doing it major, yo. Who's down to answer the call? We down to answer the call.
Welcome.
I say you and I can come together in unity. Lay the foundation.
Thank you for tuning in. We have a great show today. Flipping the script on last show, we had, we're celebrating life in those who, lost their lives to sickle cell. We're celebrating those lives as well. We're talking about how we're doing that. And, I'm your host, Shay Breanne Howard. And we have KC.
Hey, KC.
Diamond.
Hey, it's your boy Diamond Ray, you already know.
Omika.
Hey, y'all.
We got Dr. Felicia Hunt.
Hey, hey.
We have WDC.
What's up?
Okay. So, we're going to be... First, I want to thank everybody for doing the survey because you guys are awesome. Whoever did the survey or is actually planning on doing it, please do the survey and screenshot your 100. Let me see them 100s. I know people out there getting 100 somewhere. Okay? I check the stats. So, screenshot your 100, send it to me so you can get your shout out on the fan page. Bringing a question from the survey, since we're talking about it. This is our sickle cell fact for this show. If both parents have sickle cell trait, AS, what percentage does the child have to inherit the trait? Anybody want to answer that? Anybody think they got it?
50%.
See?
50-50.
50-50.
If you want to play it like that.
Exactly.
50-50 for the trade.
So, coming up, we have KC. You want to... actually, Diamond, you want to talk about how you celebrate your life and people?
Yeah, absolutely. Just talking about celebrating. First, talk about celebrating my own life. I just try to live every day. Just try to, take care of myself, have fun, and not live by what the doctors could say. Because if it was up to the doctors, I'd be dead at 16. But I'm 30 now, 31. Just had a birthday, feeling really good, and that's what it's about. Just try to feel good. I feel like every day is my birthday. You just get up, you celebrate. And how do I celebrate? Well, not really. It's not really a celebration of fallen warriors. I wouldn't really call it a celebration, but I just try to continue their aspirations. Like John L. Cord, a lot of people know him as Too Clean, was one of the designers in the sickle cell community. Very talented brother. He had a lot of goals and dreams. I take that and try to continue on with that. try to continue on and just be creative with my designing and my passion for that. And there's also Amin McKeechin, who I like to remember. He was the host of the Juice Bar, which is just a great show that really involved warriors, and it just got down to just the real. And with that, I try to continue and assert my voice and my presence in the sickle cell community. And I try to continue to just remember them and be happy for them and celebrate their life, and celebrate that they are not in pain anymore, and not here on earth. And let me elaborate on that, because I believe in the spirituality of things. So I just always feel like heaven is going to be better than earth. Mm-hmm. So now that you're in heaven, I can be happy for you that you're walking in the golden gates, and that's actually how I continue to live every day. Going back to how do I celebrate life? It's just I try to stay grounded, don't stress over anything, and just understand that it's all good. God is in control.
Wonderful.
Amen. Amen.
Mm-hmm. Amen to that. Felicia, you have anything you want to say?
Sure. First of all, just to introduce myself, I'm the proud owner of Sex Coach, which is a sex coaching and educational services. If you want to reach me, you can go to info at sexcoach.life. And to speak to what Diamond has said, I'm a person who can help people navigate through life to come out to where they want to be their authentic selves. Like, no matter if it's stress, anxiety, chronic illness, pain, there's things that we can do mentally, physically, and spiritually that will help us to reach that goal, that desire that we want. And then when we deal with grief and loss, and we think about the fallen warriors or anybody else that's in our that's real near and dear to us, there's things that you can do for that as well, so you won't have to carry it, because they all work. Grief work in a cycle, anger work in a cycle, violence work in a cycle, and guess what? Even the circle of life is a cycle. So we all have to pretty much choose how to take care of ourselves. And at the top of the list of the life cycle is spirituality and nourishment. So we have to make sure we take care of ourselves.
Absolutely. Beautiful. And with that said, trying to take care of myself, I not only am in my spirituality, but I also try to be just on my fitness. Not really exercising as much as I really would want to, just because it hurts. Straight up. I'd be in pain. But I try to eat right for sure. I'm eating more green leafy vegetables, trying to drink more tea, cutting, iron out of a lot of iron out of my diet, salt, things like that. Just gotta, take care of yourself. And I also, part of taking care of yourself is the people that you have around you. And I love, I don't want to see like, oh yeah, he's just saying that because this is the cast. But I love you guys. I love being around you guys, and that really helps me to stay grounded, and it helps me to stay good.
I have a question, because you just said something. You said that you're removing iron from your diet, right?
Mm-hmm.
For some people, with sickle cell, they need iron.
They need more, yeah.
So explain. Can you touch on that? In your part of why you have to remove iron from your diet.
Well, for me, I have. I just go all the way in. I have sickle cell anemia type SS, and that has caused me to have to go get blood transfusions, chronic blood transfusions, throughout the course of my life, and I've been doing that for a long time. Probably, let's see, I am 31, maybe over 20 years. I'll say it like that. And that has, just because I've been getting so much blood, it adds to iron overload, which I have to go and use iron chelation for that, which are different forms like Desferal or X-Jade or something they call Jade New. But some people are not really proficient in handling that, and your ferritin level can get out of control with the iron in your body. So you have to eventually just change your diet and change your ways so you don't overload your body. Like how I'm on dialysis, I can't add certain things. I can't eat. Like used to love pizza, love cheese, love all type of dairy, ice cream, chocolate, peanut butter, but all the things that I have to be moderate about. But I love it, you know.
Yeah, and that's just let people know in case the listeners are listening that sickle cell, it is an individual type of disorder, so it affects everybody differently, and so the care can be various for each patient. So I appreciate you sharing that, man. Very
Absolutely.
Yes.
That was awesome.
How do you guys deal with iron?
important.
Am I the only one that has to cut it out? Cut it.
You need to cut it.
My iron way too high.
What about you, Omega? How you celebrate life? How do you celebrate those who lost their lives to sickle cell?
I celebrate life
Don't be afraid. Pull that closer to her. We live.
I celebrate life just trying to live life. I can't be afraid if I'm going to get sick. The doctors might tell me, "Oh no, that's not a good idea. You might get sick." And I just live my life like I'm going to get sick anyway, so I'm going to live my life, period. I can't be held back by any circumstance, and I don't think anyone should. If you want to do something in your life, don't be afraid that sickle cell is going to hold you back from that. The way I celebrate fallen soldiers, I try not to let their dreams die. I celebrate, what they were doing or what reminds me of them. I have a lot of friends that have sickle cell. I know a few of my friends that passed away from sickle cell. So the way I celebrate them is, having a good times with my friends that are here with me right now. I also let their families in. I talk to their mothers or their cousins that I know.
My mom loves her.
Yeah. I just, keep their memory alive. I think about all the good times we did have. And that's how I celebrate, fallen soldiers.
That's great.
That's amazing.
Wonderful.
That's awesome.
Felicia, you have anything that you want to add to what she was talking about?
Oh, yeah. So when Omika was talking about, just being able to appreciate the fallen soldiers, I think sometimes in our culture, we're not privy to understanding how death is a part of life as well. All of us, our heads are numbered. We never know, regardless if we have sickle cell or not. And so when she talked about remembering them, it's like when we remember they are alive, we keep them alive constantly in our heart and in our mind. And so it's like they're never anywhere. They become our angels. They become our ancestors. They become, someone that we can, confide in and still talk to. I mean, spirit is alive. That's what controls these bodies is our spirit. We are spiritual beings, and we will always stay connected to that. So, yeah, that's a great positive way of looking at life. The circle of life it's the physical we will always miss because that person presence is not there, and we cannot reach out and touch them physically, but in our hearts and mind they always are there, and then through their loved ones as well.
And also, and through their works, which is why I encourage with different warriors to get involved and take advantage of your creative side, because writing never dies,
never.
videos never die, music never dies.
That's right.
It's just going to be around
A memorial.
forever. You're always in that,
Right.
So
Yeah,
express yourself while you're here,
Yeah.
so you can be remembered forever.
very good. I agree. I agree.
Beautiful.
Well, a little talking about how I celebrate life and celebrate the lives of others who lost their lives to sickle cell. I just I don't set limitations on myself. I don't put myself inside of a box. I don't live by anybody else's standards but my own. I have a daughter to live for, so it's, I want to live for her. I don't want her just watching me die. I want her to see me live and see that I'm, you know, doing things in my life to better for our, for our future, for ourselves, and just really, taking life for what it is and not what I want it to be, and just living as much as I can, living life to the fullest, taking those long, taking those long trips and just doing things spur in the moment and just, making sure you telling your family and your friends that you really love them and appreciate them. As far as the people I've lost, I lost my mom to sickle cell. So about a year ago, I did a video, basically me reciting a poem I wrote for her, and it was very detrimental to my healing for my mom, because I don't think I had a lot of time to process what happened. Um, so that's one way I feel that I celebrate her life, and then the lives of others. I feel like, when we all came together to do the How Many poem, that was really powerful for me because I got to say things that were really on my heart, and I feel like a lot of people who were a part of that poem and had parts and had roles in that poem, it was powerful for them, and they came from a passionate place in their lives. So it really helped me to be able to, you know, not accept it, because it still makes me angry every time I hear that we lost another warrior, but just live with it, and let it inspire me instead of letting it stress me out or depress me. Think, oh, am I next? No, I gotta think about, I don't want their lives to be in vain. Don't let that hold me back from the mission. So that's pretty much.
Very good. I thoroughly get that, Shaberon, and especially when you talk about doing things spontaneous. I want to push it a little further to bring awareness that people can think they're doing something spontaneous when they're going through something and really be doing something compulsively. And you have to be careful of that. And I know that's not what you're talking about, but I wanted to bring that awareness because when you're being compulsive, you're not really feeling. You're trying to escape. So we
Right.
have to be mindful of that.
Right.
When you just all of a sudden get up, and then sometimes you are doing things that don't make sense. But, self-care is the key. Doing those things that you take time out for yourself, especially when you're feeling like your day, your week, or whatever has been very stressful. You have to take out self-care. And self-care means like meditation or taking nice, warm, hot baths or, making sure you eating right and hydrating, just being mindful of that, And another point that Amika made about not being afraid, having fear sometimes is the foundation of a lot of things that cause us to think bad thoughts about our illness, about other people and how they're dealing with their illness, just having this fear about death and everything. And it's like educating yourself about what sickle cell is, how sickle cell affects your body, and how you respond to different stressors in the world can reduce that fear as well. So we won't have to walk around, and no one that loves you, your loved one, if they educate themselves as well, won't have to have the fear about you as well. So education is key to just know how your body works with sickle cell, and then informing people how sickle cell works in the environment, in stressful situations. It reacts to all kinds of things. So we just have to educate people.
Yeah, definitely got to know your triggers, because if you don't know
Yeah,
them,
exactly.
You
they
don't know.
gonna know you.
Right, definitely.
If you
And
can't
go-
hear, you will feel, right?
Exactly, exactly. And going back to what you were saying about the Harmony poem, because I was a part of that, and that was just a celebration of life for our fallen soldiers, and an expression of life and just the things that we feel
Yeah, we
very
may have to
deeply
redrop the how many poem.
about.
We've been,
Let me just
have to do it.
introduce that, like, the how many poem. The reason it's called how many, it's how many times are we gonna have to witness our peers dying, or how many times are we gonna have to feel this pain? And it's just, we took the time, we all had our own parts, and we added our most fallen, our most cherished fallen soldiers, and we reached out to the actual community and had them put names in the poem, and through the poetry, we added their names into the poem so they could live forever. And that's what that was about. And that was a beautiful thing to help, I guess, celebrate our fallen soldiers. That's how that's how we celebrate our fallen soldiers.
Yes.
Amen. Amen.
Casey?
WDC.
Well, this is a very heartfelt topic for me, because as I think about celebrating life, I lost my grandmother, right? Natural causes, in '95. It took me about 10 years to heal from her, that loss. And then I get introduced to a community of people living with sickle cell that I had no idea existed, and then being mentored by Phyllis Zachary Thomas. And when I started advocating for sickle cell, and I went to one of the conferences, and one of the young men wanted to meet me. So I met him like the last day. We sat in the lobby of the hotel, talked. We all fly back home after the conference, and then I'm, make friends with him on Facebook, and then I look up and his mom shares that he's in the hospital. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, what is this, right? So I reach out to Phyllis, and she's like, Farron, you have to be able to connect with people to a point where that this illness, people are going to die, and maybe sooner than we expect. And I just him being sick was devastating, right? And then so I deal with that, and then a few years later, Phyllis passed. And then it's like, oh my goodness, like, this is like close.
That sent you into a depression.
You're right. And so how I managed Phyllis' death, honestly, was being able to think about her, and I use this analogy openly, Star Wars, and how Obi-Wan Kenobi was killed by Darth Vader, but yet still guided Luke Skywalker. And so to that being how I looked at her life, that she was like my Jedi Knight, that she was more powerful in the spirit world than she was here on the planet. And then being able to be in an education and going back to my spirituality, growing up in the church, and then taking landmark and understanding human life and how we function, I realized that I had a relationship to death. And then I saw how my relationship was traumatic. And then I shifted those thoughts to how that this is not the last place that our soul is going to, we're living to get to that next level of life, which is in the spirit world. So this is just temporarily. So I had literally had to talk to myself and pray to God and get these revelations and insights on how to now shift my relationship to death. Because then I start interviewing people with sickle cell, and people are dying that I've interviewed. And I look at, like, how do doctors be with their patients and then have that patient pass away? Like, how do they create their outlet of being in the hospital, working, and then so-and-so patient, your patient died. Like, how does he go home and digest that and release that? And so I literally had to create my advocacy work in that kind of a mindset that, again, this is not the final destination of our souls, and that we embrace people when they're here, but then we also celebrate them as we do in the military, our fallen soldiers. So I brought that military fallen soldier into my advocacy work for our community. But I literally had to look at my relationship to death.
Yes.
And then shift that to a powerful way that I accepted it, and then, you know, be able to express that in some kind of a format or fashion.
Right.
And so it really, for me, impacted me greatly. And as like, I mean, losing the dream, next to Phyllis, that was another close, tragic loss, close to me.
Really some type of way.
Right? and so,
it's hard to talk about it and everything.
right.
Even like my cover on Facebook that I'm just
I know.
don't want to change.
Right? And it's like,
I'm usually very vain too. I'm my own cover. Not today.
and so that is how I had to really get to being okay with death as a celebration, that this is just a dirt suit, you know, and we are spiritual beings, and having those conversations to myself, like literally to myself, and being able to just figure out an outlet, which is we celebrate those lives. So that's how I personally, from my own personal experiences, is manage you know, the loss and celebration of a loved one and people in our community, because you get close.
Right.
You know, you get close to people when you start to meet them and introduce yourself and advocate and interview. Like, it's an instant connect relatedness, and then to have that loss is like how do you manage
Right.
that? So
That makes you not want to do certain things, but it's like the way that we live is like, no, I'm not going to live like that.
yeah, and like I said, and
Makes you
like I
not wanna
said,
be
literally I
friends
had
with certain
to
people.
I had to
Like,
do some.
I'm in a relationship.
No, you
with
can't
somebody who
answer.
has
You
sickle
can't
cell.
isolate yourself.
Yeah,
Can't
no,
do that.
You
like I
know?
said, I had to
mean,
find out.
I don't want to say that I have that.
Put the mic in front of you.
I don't want to say that I have that fear, but it is a thought. Like, my girl has the same thing that I have, and I know what I have, and I'm scared for my life sometimes. And you know, I think about her in that way. And it, in the beginning, it was something that deterred me from being with her. But once I got that out the way, and I was just open to the possibility of just being in love with somebody, it just all just was just so easy.
But you got to look that when you take enough courage to look in your own life and see what your relationship. We have relationships to money, to not just people. We have a relationship to life, and unless you go to work in that area to be okay with it, death is like we forgot. Like, we're gonna die, and we have
It's going to happen.
We don't know when.
Right, you
don't know
don't.
how.
You don't.
You know, and
Right.
and my last comment to death is, you know, it is a time of loss, but when a person dies, you know, we have an opinion about it, but we get no say so. That's between that person's
nothing.
life and God, and we get no say so. We get an opinion about it, but we get no say so when, where, how that person passes on.
Exactly. It's totally. You want to say something, Amika?
I
Go
was
ahead.
just gonna
You- before you
say
come- before I come.
something that Farron piggyback off Farron. Like, I was in a coma, 2012, and when I opened my eyes, my sister was there and my friend Tashana was there, and a couple of weeks later, she passed on, and I was just like in my head about it, like, you don't know when you're gonna go. You don't have a choice. So celebrate life while you're still here. And that's why I said, remember the good times. I wrote about her in the How Many poem, you know. She was a really good friend of mine, and I just couldn't, at that time, I couldn't wrap my head around why am I still here and she's gone.
You know, someone said to me, because just a week ago, yeah, it's been a week or maybe two now, I lost my great niece. She's 27 years old. And they found a rare blood disease, which is called TTP. I never heard of it before, but it's really deadly. So just someone said that, you know, no matter how young or old you are, life is just too short, right? And it just took me like, you're right, life is too short. So then it's like, then how then do we live, the ones that still have breath in our bodies and moving around? So as you was speaking, Farron, it's that, when you're dealing with the reality of losing someone, we don't want to suppress any of our feelings, right? It's a cycle to grief. It's like first you get the news, right? Then you want to be in denial. Then you start bargaining. Then you start to come into, I might be mixing it all up, but then you come into some sort of acceptance of it. And then, you begin to deal with it. But the thing is that we have to make sure that it's just like when you coming into some sort of consciousness of anything, it's like that's a death. When you get the understanding of it, that's life. You're bringing forth the life and the understanding. We do that all the time. But when somebody physically take off the flesh, it's like it just really floors us. It just devastates us. We don't see that it's a transformation, and that if we reverence them, if we pray for them, if we wish them well, and making sure that they do go to the light and get to the other side and become our angels and ancestors, and do all those things that we feel like we will connect to on the other side, that keeps us connected to the circle of life, because it's not over. It's a transformation. It's not over. And we have to get to that place where we live there and understand that, and have adult minds, right? What I mean by saying have an adult mind, like you were talking about your relationship, talk about that, say that, because I think sometimes we approach things in childlike manners where we either have a temper tantrum or have throwing a fit, or we approach it like a parent type way, meaning authoritative or controlling. No, if you just have an adult mind and express yourself, be able to express how you feel, and really have and really have real good conversations behind it. Because then you don't have to be, when something do happen that's devastating, you will already know. You'll be at peace, because I think what happened for the living, sometimes we have guilt because we know we didn't do what we were supposed to do when that person was alive too, and say what we wanted to say and all that stuff. So if we just get in tune with listening to our spirit that's in us, listen to our intuition, that like when you have a thought about a person, follow it out, so that you leave no stone unturned, that you did everything that you could while that person was yet with you, so you don't have to deal with too much grief when they're gone.
I want to say this, being, I've been advocating on the air since 2010, and one of my early interviews, the young woman passed away, and I remember I reshared her interview, and her mom messaged me and said, "Thank you for interviewing her, because this is how I get to hear her voice, that's now that she's gone." So a lot of times, these interviews, have come in handy. And like I said, that mom actually thanked me for that interview, because that's all she had left, was she could hear her voice.
I say voice messages for that reason. Now I do. I have a lot of voice messages, because you just never know. I can just play them back.
And going into what you're saying, right now, you just never know. And just going into what you were saying a few minutes ago is, if you feel some type of way, take the initiative on that. Like, sometimes I actually feel I just get a thought about somebody, like 2 a.m, and I'll call them. I'll be like, "Hey man, I was thinking about you. I just wanted to let you know this and this and this." Well, I was just thinking about you.
That's it. That's all it takes. Yeah.
And they, that type of behavior could really change your relationship with somebody. They were like, "You just called me just to say you were thinking about me."
That's it.
Cool deal. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
KC, you want to talk about this, lovely topic we've been...
Again, I wanted to go last for a reason, because this series kind of got started with a conversation amongst this group about the fact that we were losing a lot of people in our community, and I had losses in succession, And so this conversation came up, and I was saying that I kind of felt like a little bit of survivor's remorse. Because again, I'm just like Omika, said, like, man, why am I here, and my sister isn't? I'm the one that, bled out on an operating table and had a 1 in 10 chance of surviving that operation, and should have been gone twice now, living my life with sickle cell disease, and it was so difficult to watch, my sister's battle and really feel like I was in a better place than her, even after all I've been through. And sickle cell can be a very difficult out. It really can be. I mean, it affects you in so many different ways, and it weakens you, and it makes you feel very, very human. And so it was quite a challenge. And then to literally after 1 week after having a conversation with my sister where she's saying that, I'm in that place, where, I could be gone tomorrow and it'd be okay with me. I'm good. I really am. My sister was a woman of faith, and so I know, that she knows that she knows. And this is just, like he said, a dirt suit. And this thing is hurting, it's beating on me, it's wearing on me. And I watched my sister be strong through so many things and never lose her faith and never not have a smile on her face, never not have something good to say about somebody or be willing to go out of her way for somebody, throughout this entire battle. And my sister and I grew up in a time where, we were each other's sickle cell community. Again, I discovered the sickle cell community literally about 3 years ago now. And, I'm from that generation where, we weren't real heavy on the computer, and not all of us transitioned, very quickly into that stage of communicating and relating with one another. And so, again, and I'm struggling with it now, but I know that you guys are there, and I know that we are all, feeling this. We're all going through this, again, like Fran was saying, who knows if this tape isn't going to be the last tape for one of us. We just don't know that, and in our community, we don't take it for granted. That's why we have to take time to celebrate and to really, really appreciate being with one another and love on one another, and to really, really appreciate the people who are in our lives and the relationships that we have, and do that work that, like Diamond's saying, pick up the phone, say something today. It's like, I love you, and that's all that's ever got to be said, and it ain't got to be long, and it got to be nothing else, but man, it's money in the bank when you have a loss. It's just, this is going to happen, and like you said, none of us can afford to take this for granted, whether you have sickle cell disease or not. It's just that we have maybe the great fortune of really realizing that, this is a disease that can kill you. It doesn't have to, it can be one bad treatment in a hospital from a doctor who doesn't know. And, somebody who you love and care about can be gone, so we certainly don't want to take this for granted. I really, really celebrate my sister and want to honor my sister very much in the ways that everyone here has been talking about, and that is just keeping her memory alive.
What's your sister's name?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, my sister Inez. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so she can be alive with us.
Exactly.
Thank you.
She'll
Yes,
forever be
every
embedded in
time.
this show now, in this
Amen.
videotape.
She'll forever be embedded, and of course, always be embedded in our hearts. And when I speak, about our hearts, I speak to the family members of mine who are listening to this show, and who are dealing with this. My own progression through the grief process has been really, really challenging, because there were a lot of things that can be challenging about losing someone. Like you said, you have no control over how it happens, when it happens. You don't always get an answer for why You know, you don't
Or
always get the
what
clearest
happened.
what happened exactly. You don't always have the clearest explanations, and so those things can cause
Sickle
you
cell
know,
complications.
That's
yeah,
it.
sickle cell complications, man. And so those things can cause you to be in a place, and I certainly was for a while, because again, you know, it wasn't just my sister, but it was also her husband. They passed within literally almost 30 days of each other, and and you know, there is no explanation for that but life. You know, it's death, but that's life. You know, we don't get to choose. You know, we would have kept them here forever if that were the case, and I don't think either of them really would have wanted to be here forever if you'd asked them. You know,
Right.
I think that they are in a much better place now, and they realize that. And so, one of the things that I'm doing to, you know, honor my sister and her husband and their sickle cell battle is in the way of putting on an event. My sister lived in Iowa, and Iowa is one of those states that we kind of consider a sickle cell desert. It has less than 500 sickle cell patients and less than 20 practitioners who specialize in sickle cell disease. And that can manifest in a lot of issues for people living with sickle cell in a state like that. And it certainly did for my sister. And so by putting together an event to do an awareness campaign in Iowa to work with the people who are dealing with sickle cell in Iowa, because there are people who are working at the University of Iowa, has some great programs, and we're hoping to connect with the African American community there, but not only just the African American community, but the medical community and all of the people who need to understand that this disease has very particular needs and a very comprehensive treatment plan that is needed for everyone who has this disease, and just to continue to raise that awareness. And it's one of the ways that I honor my sister.
Get tested.
It's one of the ways that I invite my family to honor my sister. You know, again, this is just a devastating disease to live with, and to have to watch the people that you love live with. And we owe it every effort to help our family to be able to fight this battle, and to fight all our battles. That's what family is for. We're supposed to fight our battles together. And so that's how I'm doing it. And
How do you celebrate your own life?
you know what? I'll be turning 58 in October.
All right now.
And I definitely am going to celebrate that. You know, just like you, Diamond.
October
I
what?
wasn't supposed to make it past 40. You know, that's what the doctor said.
And this
And,
doctor.
And this disease has tried to kill me a couple times. But you know what? I'm going to take a
I'm with you, bro.
pilot training
I
course
definitely wish you.
to celebrate my birthday this year. I'm going to do
Wonderful.
fly a private plane. That's something that
I don't know what I'm
going
gonna do. My birthday is in October too. It's-
All right now.
Oh, yeah.
OVO.
I'm going to go fly.
You gonna go fly? You're not gonna jump out the plane this time?
You know
gonna
what? Not
fly?
this time, but that's on the list. That's on the list. I've done that once already.
I
so-
know. That's why I said
Done
no
that once
jumping
already.
out this time. You're gonna
All
stay
right,
in.
yeah,
I
I'll
might
come
do
down
that.
and play.
Let me think about that.
Oh,
Hey,
That
you will
seems
never
fun.
My
Not
feel,
alone.
sister did
you'll
it.
never feel more alive than when you get back to that ground. And
I
your
did
feet
the
are on
air
solid
one.
ground.
I'm gonna say it and then do it. Oh,
Yeah.
and then not having it.
you scared of heights?
Hey, no, I'm not scared of heights. I'm just not jumping on no plane.
Yeah.
Well, if I could
that.
end
But
with
yes,
with
Felicia,
your
please.
comment, yeah. I think what we all been talking about, because whether we have sickle cell, and I know that's what the show is about, but anything, it's like we're really talking about life, period. And I think the golden rule is what is necessary: do unto other as you would have them do unto you, in love, basically. Because if you just
Absolutely.
lead your life that way and have love, and I was looking at that, it says live, love, play, and play hard. And so it's like when you just love, you know, you are in tune with yourself and you are in tune with others, and it saves you a lot of hurt and grief and pain down the line. And knowing how you feel about a particular thing and knowing that if you just treat people like you want to be treated, even though they might not be conscious of that, you know, it'll have to be despite what somebody else think, say, or do. It's like the confidence just come from you. It emanates from you. It's regardless of someone else's behavior, because sometimes we want people to validate us. And when we look for validation, people will disappoint us all the time. Every time, right? And so that's why you have to really get to know yourselves and live and have life and love. And so that's what I would end with.
All right.
I love that.
All right, guys. So, again, we want to thank everybody for tuning in, and we want to thank for everybody who participated in our series about family relations over the past 3 or 4 shows. And again, the call is here to really build on our community relations and on who we are as members of this community, to unify ourselves in our struggles and in our efforts. And we will be back.
Make sure you go do that survey, right? Still got
And
time.
Yes,
Make sure
you
you
do
do
the
the
survey.
time to do the survey.
And if you want to
okay?
reach me, go to info@sixcoach.life or reach me at 909-260-5888. Thank you.
6EX.
6EX
6EX.
coach.life.
Man, I'm so glad I'm a new man, because I'd have
This is the
went
call.
somewhere with that.
Sherry,
This
we're going to be
is the
resharing how many?
call.
We're going to reshare it?
We gonna reshare how many?
Got to let
Of
it.
course.
Yes.
All right, I'll send y'all my 100.
Wait a minute, me too.
Sickle Cell warriors, leaders, doctors, and caregivers.
This is the call.
Tune in to the call Saturdays at 5 p.m. Pacific, only on LA Talk Live.
This is the call.
To Sickle Cell Trade Awareness.
This is the call.
To acceptance of yourself and others around you.
This is the call.
To finding your purpose through creativity.
This is the call.
To living above sickle cell.
This is the call to unity in community.
So call in 323-473-3100 to
The call.
Saturdays 5 p.m. Pacific, only on LA Talk Live. This is the call.
Yeah. Calling all warriors and troopers that's willing to step up and accept the challenge. Just got a question. Who's down to answer the call? We need to answer the call. Right? You down to answer the call? Right? I'm down to answer the call. We need some starters. Yo, we need some thinkers. Yo, as largest in charge. Yo, we doing it major. Yo.
Thank you for tuning into LA Talk Live and the Talk Live Broadcast Network, original reality radio, handcrafted for your listening and viewing pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk. Stay tuned.